Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader. We've got some loose graded figures, some vehicles, one mint on card that I had to show you that I did not see for sale that sold kind of under the radar, but mainly loose graded figures. A couple of really good deals that I wanted to point out that sold on eBay. Thanks to those of you that support the channel on my Patreon. Patreon.com/actionfiguregrader is where you can go to sign up. Really appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for being channel supporters. We're going to start off with some UKG loose graded figures that I thought were particularly nice. Some of the prices were really high, some of them were really low, and I thought this was a very fair deal for a Hong Kong Princess Leia, and it had the new case style from UKG. This seller, Toy Town, is in the UK. They used to ship to the US. They don't anymore, unfortunately. He always has really nice items, but apparently he stopped, or she stopped shipping to the US. So that's unfortunate because he always, or she always has really nice stuff. So this was a Hong Kong Leia, 250 pounds, which is $332. Very fair price for a UKG 85. And then Treasures from the Attic still does ship to the US. I've bought many times from this seller, and he had some UKG 90% gold level figures that, you know, it's hard to judge whether those kind of items will sell or not because the price multiple is so significant relative to a UKG 85. But when is the last time you've seen a 90 anything for a Luke X-Wing? And this looked every bit of a 90 to me. It was a beautiful Hong Kong Luke X-Wing UKG 90% subscores, and that sold at a buy it now for 350 pounds, which is $464. You know, that's probably about double what a UKG 85 goes for. Here was a 90% PBP Walrus Man. This has the Scar COO. There's also a light green head version, which is maybe a little more desirable than the dark green head. This one sold for 150 pounds, which was $200, and I thought that was a very fair deal for a 90% gold level. Here was a 90% gold Luke Bespin that sold for 275 pounds, which is $365. That to me, of those three, that to me feels like the best deal. An AFA 85 is probably in the ballpark of 275 to 300. A UKG 90%, I would argue, is probably better than a straight 85 AFA. And that one, you know, I thought that was a very fair price at $365. This was probably the biggest shocker to me in terms of price. This was a Hong Kong Lobot. In all fairness, Lobot does discolor on the torso very easily, and this was a very, very clean, I mean, this thing looks factory fresh. Look how beautiful this figure is, but it's Lobot. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about Lobot except for those that have the same hairstyle as Lobot, namely me. But this 90% Hong Kong Lobot sold for 495 pounds, which is $657 US. If that is not a testament to the very small subset of collectors that has to have 90% gold level or AFA 85s and 90s, that price proves it. I mean, it's crazy that anyone would pay that much for a 90% Lobot, but apparently there is a market for it. So that's a pretty wild price. But again, Lobot is one of those deceptive figures that's very tough to grade. It's very, very tough to get an 85 even in a Lobot, just given how easily that torso does discolor on those. It's very faint. You can only really look, if you look really close, you can see it. But this thing, I mean, it's crazy. I've never seen one that clean before. But he and I are kindred spirits, very similar hair, very similar lifestyle. And we like our silence. We like being plugged into the matrix and not talking to anybody. Next up, there was a 90% size Snoodles. This is one I had in a what to buy video a few weeks back. I'm shocked that this one sat so long, but it did finally sell at 140 pounds, which is $185. Now, an AFA 85 would be easily double that price. Usually, it's like $350 to $400 all day long for just an AFA 85. So this one sat and sat and sat. It finally did sell at 185 US. Yak Face UKG 80%. That one sold for $650. I mean, that's a price that people pay for loose, complete Yak Faces over here, ungraded and not in 80 grade condition. So it's pretty crazy, the price disparity. We beat that to death. We beat that to death in other videos, but It is pretty wild how cheap they are over in the UK. Next up, this was a very deceptively good deal. This was in the US. I didn't see it, or I certainly would have sent it out, but this is a UKG 90% baggie for Bib Fortuna. Bib Fortuna baggies are really, really tough to find. I don't know why. I don't know what set it's included in. I'm assuming it's probably a Montgomery Ward multi-pack or Sears multi-pack from the Return of the Jedi. But Bib Fortuna baggies are tough items to find. And this one sold for $150 free shipping. That is a bargain of a deal. But as big of a bargain as that one is, this is probably the steal of the video. Somebody got a Taiwan-only COO Darth Vader that was listed down in Australia for 350 Australian dollars, which is 224 US dollars. That is a steal. Somebody just robbed this person. This person had no idea what they had in their hands. This is a Toll Toys exclusive figure. And I used to have one of these in an AFA 80. It's very, very tough to get this particular Taiwan-only COO Darth Vader. And it was only listed for 224 US dollars. That is a steal of a deal. Congrats whoever got that. I sold my AFA 80 for the same price I paid for mine, which was around $600 or $700. I don't remember the exact number, but to get a 75 for 225, oh, yeah, that seller really had no idea what they had, because this is a very, very expensive figure. Very tough to get this one. The Taiwan-only COO Darth Vader. It was only available on certain Toll Toys card backs down in Australia and New Zealand. So it's got a very specific lightsaber also for that particular figure. So great deal for somebody. Here was a Lily Letty Darth Vader graded AFA 85. It was listed for 440 US dollars. The best offer accepted on that was $375. This was also a lettered hilt, lettered O, as you can see right there. Although this one, it doesn't mention that on the AFA label, which they've started to do that now. They've started to label whether the saber has a letter on it or not. But that one is labeled 0 or O probably. And that one sold for $375, best offer accepted. Speaking of Lily Letty, here is a Lily Letty Burgundy Cape Squid Head graded 75 by CAS. That one sold for $750. Probably about fair market value. Quite honestly, I sold my CAS 85 Plus for around 900, somewhere in that ballpark, 875, 900. So for a 75 grade, that's probably about right at 75 or 750 US dollars. Onto some vehicles. Here's the X-Wing fighter, loose complete, stickers applied with a beautiful ESP box. That box is in really nice looking condition. That one sold in an auction for $270. We had a factory sealed collector series land speeder that sold for $460. Probably about right. This is probably, I would guess, an 80 grade version for the collector series. We just saw that collector series AFA 85 that sold over at Hakes for big money. I mean, that was a huge number, but this one sold for $460. We also have the rich brother of the collector series land speeder, and that's the Sonic controlled land speeder. This is a JCPenney exclusive, extremely expensive, very tough to find this. And this loose complete example with a tatty box sold for $667 in an auction. We have a Y-Wing fighter. This one was, it looks like it was maybe unused contents. Well, the contents have been opened out of the baggies, so this one is used contents, but it does have the insert as well as the box. That sold in an auction for $308. We have an Imperial shuttle that included a pretty nice box, but obviously stickers applied with the paperwork inside. That one sold for $435. I thought that was a pretty fair deal for what it was. The box was a little tatty, but the actual item was in great shape. We got two different radio-controlled Jawa sandcrawlers that sold. First was a pretty clean condition, a pretty typical condition for eBay. The next one is not so much. It's pretty incredible, the condition for the next one. But this one sold for $884.80 plus $12 shipping. Here was the one that was incredible and kind of fell underneath the radar. I didn't really see it. But this one was a beautiful box, and it was unused contents from what I can tell. It had the insert, all of the instruction sheets. Look how clean the remote is on this one. The remote was basically unused condition. I haven't seen one of these in such great condition sell on eBay in a long time. This was basically unused contents, radio-controlled Jawa Sandcrawler, and that one sold at an auction for $1,500. Somehow it fell underneath the radar because I did not see it, but that one is in pretty impeccable condition. So congrats whoever got that one for $1,500. Next, we've got another Tatooine skiff from the Power of the Force line. Stickers apply. So this was used content, or, a used example. And also the railing was broken, as you can see there in the photos, which is a common problem. It's a very fragile toy. And this one did have a broken railing. So that one still sold for $700. We have a Tig Fromm, loose complete, along with the coin. Tig Fromm looked to be in pretty clean condition. Not perfect. He had some rub on the hand there. That one sold for $700. And then finally, here's the only mint on card that I had to show you. It was a beautiful condition, 77 back Luke Gunner alternate image card, AFA 80. This one was labeled clear blister, but as you can see, it's starting to turn yellow ever so slightly on the blister. But it was an AFA 80, 75, 85, 85 are the subscores. And that one was listed for $17.50, which I think was a great price, very fair for what it is. The blisters just got very faint yellowing to it. Punched example, no price sticker, but man, what a beauty. And that one did sell in a buy it now situation for $17.50 plus $25 shipping. So I hope you enjoyed this look at recent sales on eBay. Thank you as always for watching. Don't forget to leave me a like if you enjoy my content, and I'll be back soon.